Hi, everybody. Unmuted with Marcia has a great conversation for you today. And I am so looking forward to this because we've heard so much about President Trump's first 100 days and a lot of talk about the success that different states are having in attracting investment and attracting jobs and seeing that jobs growth take place. And I was at the White House last week with the president as he was announcing some of these projects that have taken place. And our guest today is Stuart McWhorter. He is our commissioner for ECD, our Economic and Community Development in the state of Tennessee. And we're going to talk about what all is happening in Tennessee. So, Commissioner, welcome. We're delighted to have you with us.
Thank you, Senator Blackburn. It's great to see you and really appreciate you having me on today.
I'm delighted to have you on. Let's talk about what Tennesseans are seeing as they talk about economic development in the state. What kind of feedback are you getting from different communities? Because my understanding is since President Trump was elected, you all have landed 30 projects, 1,900 jobs, and $550 million in direct foreign investment. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, it's been a busy several months for sure. And the good news is the pipeline is continuing to be very robust. I think that a combination of a lot of things, really, but certainly since President Trump was elected, and certainly now that he's in office and really, making a lot of things happen quickly, we're seeing activity in our state pick up. And I think a lot of that is large part due to just the fact that a lot of companies globally are looking to, reshore and establish a stronger presence, not only in the United States, but certainly in the state of Tennessee. And, to your question about what are Tennesseans saying, I think, folks in all 95 counties are very excited. This isn't new for us. I think as you know, Senator, we've had strong relationships internationally for decades and, building these relationships with global companies. And I think they know Tennessee well. And I think this is just the nudge, the push that they needed to really make a significant commitment and a significant investment to our state. And I think we're seeing the fruit of that right now.
And part of that has been new international flights that are coming into Nashville. And yes. Aer Lingus has a flight from Dublin, and Icelandair has one from Reykjavik. You want to talk about that for a second? Because I thought that was actually so interesting that they chose to come into Nashville.
They have. I think, as you know, and I hope a lot of the folks listening and watching know this. If they don't, I hope they will soon learn that the Nashville International Airport is growing. We have, over the last several years, more than doubled direct flights, daily flights out of the airport, and the infrastructure investments are being made. And international flights is part of the strategy that collectively between the state and the airport, we've been working on for a number of years. And I think a lot of it has to do with, from our side of it, international investing, our foreign direct investment partners, again, back to these relationships that I was talking about, recognize that having these direct flights from other countries, these foreign flights are important in making these decisions that they make to invest in our state. And, of course, tourism is a big part of our economy. And, what not only happens in Nashville, which is a large part of it, but certainly East Tennessee and Sevier County, Gatlinburg, we've seen a lot of tourism growth. We've been recognized as a state that has had a lot of success in tourism, being a no income tax state and heavy sales tax state. It's a big plus for us to have that. And so these flights give us those opportunities for visitors, but it also gives us the opportunities to recruit businesses, again, not only globally, but domestically. And it's an important component to our economic development strategy.
And that is great. And talk a little bit about rural Tennessee. I know there's a $45 million rural development fund that you're focused on.
Yeah, we've had a lot of great support from our legislature and certainly under the leadership of Governor Bill Lee around rural economic development in our state. One of the first things he did in office, and his executive order number one, was to invest and support our rural communities, knowing that we're going to see growth in our urban parts of our state, but our rural counties are a focus that we have in our department. We have a division that is our rural and community development group. It makes up about a third of what we do. And we have a variety of grants and programs that we provide to our local communities, both counties and cities across all 95 counties. And this $45 million is a substantial investment for us. I mean, it's probably one of the largest we've had, certainly under Governor Bill Lee's leadership. And it allows us to invest in infrastructure. It allows us to invest in some of these smaller communities that have these downtowns, that are starting to really come back as a result of, I think we've had out of 95 counties, 90 or 91 of those counties have seen population growth. And that's a result of not only the in-migration of population, but certainly the successes we've had with economic development. So we want to have these community and rural grant programs to have a lot of success so that these counties and cities have access to funds that they typically just don't have access to. They run tight budgets. They don't typically have the ability to invest in infrastructure and anything related to economic development to attract and retain businesses. And it could be small mom and pop businesses as well. And that's part of what this is. And we're really excited about it. Very glad the governor put it in the budget and the legislature passed it.
And then you have what is called the Property Evaluation Program. And I think Sequatchie, Tipton, and Cocke counties have been selected to be in that. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we call it PEP. The PEP program, and it's had it's been part of our department for a number of years, and it's been a lot of success. We've been recognized, given awards and recognition for this program. And what essentially it is it allows these communities to submit sites, whether greenfield, brownfield sites, industrial sites. We work with a consulting group to analyze these sites, and what essentially it allows us to collectively do is put these sites into what we call shovel-ready sites. So companies that are making these decisions, they typically don't have a long period of time to make these decisions. They want to find sites that are ready. The infrastructure's in the ground, the investment's been made, the community basically owns that property, and they work with the locals in order to make these decisions and land these projects. And so the program itself allows us to identify these locations with the local leadership. The dollars are granted, allow them to make those investments. And so that's what it is. And again, I think what we find is companies that are making these decisions want to find communities that, one, embrace it, but two, have a shovel-ready site so that when they're ready to make those decisions, they can time that out, because we know they're making a significant capital investment when they make these decisions.
And let me ask you one more question. Broadband. I know a lot of companies are looking for broadband. How is the state coming along with closing that digital divide?
We've made a lot of progress. I know when I first came in with it to the governor's administration as the FNA commissioner at the time, we had no access to federal dollars. It was all state dollars, and it just wasn't enough to move the needle. If we fast forward where we are, we've received as a state over $1 billion to invest in broadband deployment, and working in all 95 counties to make that a reality for each and every one of these communities. And it's made a significant difference. I think part of the reason why we're seeing such economic growth in almost all counties is because of this. I mean, we talk to businesses, whether it's a large business, small business, and even families that rely on internet and broadband access to, for students to do their homework, to take classes, and certainly for others to do business. It's a big deal. And so we're making progress. We're getting, that last mile, that last little bit is really hard, because you're starting to get into some tricky topography. And as you know, our state is not all flat. So we run into some topography challenges, but we're making a lot of progress. And we hope that over the next few years, we will be able to accomplish this and be able to state that everybody has access to broadband, and they can continue to grow their business or have access as a family and a household.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It is so exciting to hear what is happening not only across the country, but what is happening specifically in Tennessee and seeing that jobs growth and development take place. And to our audience, thank you for joining us for another Unmuted with Marsha. And as always, you're going to find me on social media at Marsha Blackburn. Have a great day.